Wabash, the gentleman's rule. You gotta believe in that stuff. Wabash always fight.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. And Coach, another week where we get to talk about a victory for your Wabash team, a 48-20 win over the College of Wooster on homecoming in front of a great homecoming crowd again. But it's one of those games that the score doesn't necessarily indicate how hard fought the victory was on Saturday for your team.
I think the NCAC just has gotten better the last few years. Worcester's a good football team, and that was a tough football game. We pulled away at the end, but really good challenge and a great win for the Little Giants.
You had a 14-13 lead before the Wabash offense was able to roll off 27 consecutive points while your defense held Wooster scoreless. How important was it to be able to make some of those defensive adjustments to be able to shut down a very potent offense for the Scots and continue to score on the offensive end when your team was on the field?
I think when you face an offense like that, it takes a couple series to get used to the speed of the game, and the quarterback's a shifty guy and all that. Clearly, we played better in the second half with Artie back in the game. Turned out he got re-reversed. There was a re-reversal on Thursday where the NCAA said he could not play, which was a shame. But getting Artie back in the second half really helped us.
Let's go ahead. There were a lot of interesting plays in the game. Austin Hoover had 3 touchdowns. You had some big runs by Hoover, by Isaac Avant, and by Mason Durrett, who came in late and scored another touchdown. A really good play that we're going to see in the highlights from Alex Marr, and 2 of the best catches I think you're going to see possibly all season long in Rashawn Jones on a 62-yard touchdown reception off the throw from Jake Reed, and a great catch by Ryan Thomas along the sidelines that really kept the first series going. Let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights as we talk a little bit about last week's game. And right off the bat, you got this great run from Isaac, the 55-yard run to set you up for the first score that was eventually an Austin Hoover 3-yard touchdown run. You ran him out of the wide receiver position with that little jet sweep. I mean, how key is it to have a player like Isaac who can really kind of line up in different formations and still be able to show, you know, a lot of good effort?
We just think he's a dynamic player, and we want to get him the ball any way we can.
And then we get the touchdown by Austin Hoover, as we mentioned, one of his 3 touchdowns. He is tied with Kanan Gabley, who we'll talk about in just a little bit, for the scoring lead in the North Coast Athletic Conference. And then we've talked about special teams all season long, but your special teams this past weekend really made some big plays. You got 2 block kicks, one there by Jose Franco. We're going to see another one here in just a minute by Dallas Pitts. And then the special play we're going to see from Alex Marr in just a little bit. Talk about your special teams effort this week.
It was better. We still missed an extra point, which is disappointing. It's embarrassing. But we were working as hard as we can on it. And it was good for those guys to have some success.
We get a chance to see that's the blocked extra point that Pat Kelly returned. We're going to see a touchdown pass here to Oliver Page in just a little bit. Talking about Jake Reed, he started the game 2 of 7 passing, but had almost 90 yards passing because of the 62-yard touchdown to Rashawn Jones. But then he went on a streak in the second period and then carrying over to the third quarter where he completed 13 passes in a row. That's the second most consecutive completions in Wabash football history. He really just seemed to catch a groove, and your whole offense really seemed to be hitting on all cylinders.
I think it did, and I think the pass is coming up here. Also, he takes a big hit. You know, he knows he's going to get clobbered when he throws that, and I appreciate a quarterback that, you know, big reward and painful risk is what you get on these throws. He does a great job, really does.
You mentioned he really took a big hit, but he stood in there, made a great throw, and once Rashawn Jones catches the football, I can only think of 4 other people that might be faster than him in the country at the Division III level, and they were the 4 guys that he ran against at the NCAA championship as an All-American hurdler. Just outruns the defense on this play.
Yep, that's great for Rashawn. Always happy to get him going.
We talked a little bit before we started taping the show. One of the little-known highlights of the game, you came out in the third period and just absolutely controlled the football. You controlled all the tempo. Try and pull up the numbers again here. In terms of possession, you had the football for 13 minutes and 15 seconds in the third period. Worcester had it for 1 minute and 45 seconds. The Scots ran a total of 4 plays from scrimmage, a punt, and 2 kickoff returns. You just absolutely took the air out of the football and really took control of the game in the third period.
That was the best third quarter we've had all season, and I think we're going to need to do more of that this week with the offense we're going to face.
Yeah, you will face a very good offense as we look at kind of the wrap-up of the highlights here. We're going to see a Jake Page interception here. You had the only turnover of the ball game. And again, your offense, after Jake got the interception and got the football back for the offense rewarded him with another good long drive that ended in an Austin Hoover touchdown. So even though you weren't able to get a lot of turnovers in the game, when you did force the turnover, you came back and scored off of it.
That's a good thing, too.
And how important was it? This is a Wooster team that the week prior to playing Wabash had played DePaul and had forced 5 turnovers and really made each of those turnovers count in their victory over DePaul. How key was it to really keep possession of the ball and not turn the football over last weekend?
Important, and I was really happy for the second week in a row we didn't have a turnover. And that's something for us to, achieve our goals. We need to play turnover-free on offense.
Here we'll see Oliver Page with that touchdown reception that we talked about. Good second effort for Oliver as he fought his way into the end zone. Another Austin Hoover touchdown. He finished, as we mentioned, with 3 touchdowns on the afternoon. Wabash in the game ran for 300 yards on 46 carries. 5 rushing touchdowns overall, 1 for Isaac Avant that we'll see here in a minute. Mason Durrett came in late and had a 22-yard touchdown run. As a kind of a third back now, kind of taking the place that Austin Hoover was in, what has Mason given to this offense to be able to come in late in games when you're getting a look at some of that second unit and give you the effort that he's given?
He's a really good player. Also, I think we're going to get Micah back this week. He's been out the last 3. So there's just so many injuries at this level. You need to have 3 running backs that are good players, and I think we have that.
Mason Durrett finished with 2 carries for 31 yards. We saw the Alex Marr play on 4th down where you direct snapped it to him out of the field goal set, and Alex just gave you tremendous effort. I mean, he worked his way to the first down sticks, ran through a Wooster defender. He looked like another running back for you, but really worked to keep the ball in your offense's hands.
Alex is a really good rugby player, so it's great that we can do those things with him, and he is a punishing runner for a kicker.
Again, it was Wabash 48 and Wooster 20. Little Giants improved to 4-0 with the victory and 3-0 in the North Coast Athletic Conference. And now it sets up a really key game upcoming this weekend as the Little Giants will be on the road. You play in Granville, Ohio at Denison University, and this is an incredibly talented Denison Big Red football team that you'll face on Saturday.
They are. Anybody that scores 60 points on Wittenberg has got to be pretty good on offense. I think their quarterback is probably the best offensive player in the league. They've got tremendous skill in the running back spot and wide receivers. Very good offensive line. I think they're a good defensive team, too. That game just got crazy. So, no, we have a real test this week.
At Wittenberg, in the game we're talking about this past Saturday night, an evening game at Denison, Wittenberg jumped out to a 35-10 halftime lead in that contest, and then Denison came battling back, tied it on a Kanan Gabley 1-yard touchdown run with 44 seconds left in regulation. The game eventually went to 4 overtimes, and Wittenberg hit a 3-point basket at the buzzer to win it 68-66.
Yep.
It seemed like a basketball score, but was a football score. It was just 2 really good offenses going at one another in the overtime. And you mentioned Kanan Gabley, really talented. He's ranked 29th in the nation in total offense. He leads the North Coast Athletic Conference. He accounts for 294 yards per game. He's thrown for 894 yards. And my belief, maybe the best quarterback in the North Coast Athletic Conference. He's an outstanding senior. It seems like he's been there forever. It seems like we've seen him every year we've gone to Denison or they've come here.
We have. I'm glad he's a senior, and this will be the last of it. But he's a tremendous player with his feet, his arm, his mind. So we have a real challenge.
Denison's got a lot of good senior leadership. They've got a good senior running back in Alex Minton. Their top receiver is a senior, David Weimer. How have you seen, just looking at them on film, that experience being helpful to the type of offense they put on the football field?
I just think Denison's gotten better every year from about 4 years ago, and they really have made a push to get to the top of the conference. Obviously, they just missed beating Wittenberg. 2 years ago, they beat Wittenberg. So there's no doubt they are, they're one of the top teams in the conference.
From a coaching standpoint, is it an advantage? Is it a disadvantage? Does it matter that they're coming off of a 4 overtime game that they lost? I mean, there's got to be some emotional letdown from that, playing in such a tough game. But, you've also got to, I would think, come away, if you're a Denison player, hey, we almost knocked off one of the top 25 teams in the country in Wittenberg. We were that close. Now we've got another shot against a good Wabash team.
I think once the coin gets flipped and we start playing football, nobody will have any idea or care what the score was the week before. Denison's a good football team, and they're going to want to beat us.
You've got a young defense that you'll face this week in Denison. Their leading tackler is freshman free safety Ryan Hallinan. Sophomore linebacker Tristan Knorr tied with the team lead in tackles with 24. So they've got some younger players doing it on defense. What will you have to do against their young and what seems to be a pretty fast defense? What will you have to do offensively against Denison?
Well, you'd like to, for a couple reasons, control the time of possession. If we can do that, we'll be very happy just to keep that offense off the field. But to me, defensively, they're always in the right spot. They're very well coached, and week to week, it looks like they have a tremendous game plan, and you can tell as a football staff, they're putting the time and effort into it that it takes to be great.
You mentioned that they've gotten better and better each year. How much of that is the good work of their coaching staff? How much of it is the players have seen some success, and how do you combat that as the opposing team against a team that's kind of on the rise like that?
I think great coaches are as good as their talent, and that includes me too. If you have good players, you're going to be a better coach. There's no doubt about it. I think Denison's done a great job of recruiting nationally. They have a number of out-of-state kids on that team. We combat that by trying to recruit the best kid we can out of Indiana.
You've talked about time of possession being a big key. What is one other number that we can look at after the game and we'd be able to almost instantly tell what the final score was or who the winning team was based on that number?
Turnovers.
And that's, again, as we mentioned, something that your team's been very good at the last 2 weeks. You've been able to generate turnovers and score off of those. How important is it if you win that turnover battle to also turn those turnovers into points?
Well, I think the other critical thing is you got to score touchdowns in this game. Field goals aren't going to do it. Just with such a potent offense that they have, and then also I don't think you're ever safe. If it's we learned from Wittenberg, if it's 35-10, they still have the ability to come back and get you.
That game will be a 3 o'clock start in Granville on Saturday. How much does that change some of your preparation? I mean, we've talked about we've had 1 o'clock kicks, a 2 o'clock kick with homecoming. We've done a 2 o'clock kick on the road this year already. We did Albion at night a few years ago. How does a 3 o'clock kick affect your football team?
Well, we're going to do whatever we have to do, and they want to play the game at 3. It's a bummer, just I think for our fans, and we're going to get back at midnight, and it's a challenge with meals and everything else. But that doesn't matter. We're going to kick off at 3, and I think it's going to be a very good football game.
3 o'clock kickoff. We'll have video links and statistics links on the Wabash website. I'll be there with the call on the radio. You can listen to it on 91.3 FM, WNDY Crawfordsville here in the Montgomery County area, or you can listen online. We'll have an audio link as well. I want to give a quick shout out to the Wabash College soccer team, ranked 5th in the Great Lakes region. They will take on the 4th ranked team in the region, Kenyon College, on Saturday afternoon. Christian Wirtz, who is behind the camera immediately in front of me, will have that call for you Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. That will be on wabash.edu/live. So we'll have 2 different links, one for the radio link, one for the video link for the Kenyon soccer game. So great afternoon of sports with Wabash College. That soccer game starts at 1 o'clock, and the football game begins immediately after at 3 o'clock. Coach, thanks for joining us this week. We'll talk to you next week.
If I can mention too, part of the homecoming crowd was Mr. and Mrs. Hanson, and that was tremendous for our kids to see them. They came out to practice during the week, and then they had dinner in the Beta House, and we are all in this thing together. But they are a tremendously strong couple, and really helps our football team to see them.
Well, and I want to take a moment to say thank you to the College of Wooster football team. They had the EH sticker on the back of the helmet honoring Evan in similar fashion. Last year when Clayton Guide passed away at Wooster,
Yep.
Your football team came out when we went to play at the College of Wooster with the CG sticker on the back of the helmet. Very classy act by Coach Frank Colaprete and his football team on Saturday.
Class act over at Wooster College.
With that, we'll bring the Don Morel Show to a close for this week. You've been watching the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. We'll talk to you next week.
Wabash, the gentleman's rule. You gotta believe in that stuff. The Wabash always fight.